Today's episode is brought to you by Modern Grower. Modern Grower is your source for time and labor-saving farm tools, such as the Paper Pot Transplanter, Quick Click Seeder, and the Jang Direct Seeder. Turn laborsome tasks into free time with tools by Modern Grower.
People can grow veggies in their backyard. People can't necessarily grow a gallon of milk in their backyard. And so something like the dairy industry producing milk products, or even animal protein products, whatever it may be, feels like it's such a distant world that for someone who is feeling inspired to get into agriculture but doesn't want to do the produce thing, it almost seems like there might be too large of a barrier to entry. Is that true, or is there room in the industry? Is there room within the regulations for kind of new, young, plucky, people who maybe have a little bit of a nest egg or some investment money that they can kind of break out into this industry and kind of continue this move that you guys are doing of kind of like hyper local, really high quality dairy products?
Historically, when you talk about people in the dairy industry, they're working on generational farms, that's been passed on from one generation to another. That wasn't the case for us. And it's hard. I'll be honest with you, it's hard. The capital is hard. The timing is hard. It's hard on having a young family and being in the dairy business. I see a lot of kids now in my area going to college and majoring in something to do with agriculture, which excites me.
Yeah.
I don't see a ton of those kids in this area going into the dairy industry. I mean, that did not grow up on a farm, a dairy farm. I'm hoping that we'll move it in that right direction. I know in our area, our extension program, our college and universities, our high school and middle school FFA and 4-H organizations in my area do an amazing job of making those opportunities in dairy available and advertising those and trying to plant that seed for future careers. I think they do a great job. I just think that for a lot of folks, it's a lot of hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And if they didn't grow up with it and really didn't know any different, it's a hard field for them to kind of break into. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I mean, it sounds like your opinion, comes with a lot of weight behind it. Like you said, even though your husband had sort of the generational experience and sort
Mhm.
of heritage, I mean, you guys like started from scratch. And to hear that you guys started on rented land is really encouraging and really inspiring. Because I mean, we're the same way. We're leasing our farm property. That the house is here. We've got the land. There's a little bit of infrastructure already here, and it's just for a family in their late 20s, early 30s when we started the farm, two small kids, one of them still in diapers, just to be able to purchase a large piece of land and all the necessary infrastructure was just not realistic. And so for us to be able to come in and sort of assume a property that had been a farm previously, had kind of fallen not into disrepair, but was just not taken care of in the way that a farm should be taken care of soil wise. And to sort of acquire this and then now make it into what it is now. And, none of that would have been possible for us if we were to just kind of go the traditional route of you buy a piece of property, you go get an FSA loan, and you buy your seed and do all that. Is that a realistic possibility for people? Are there kind of old generational dairy farms that unfortunately are the next generation is moving out of the country into the city, they get a job somewhere else, or maybe there's a family who they've had this land and the grandparents who were running the dairy no longer want to do it, and they just kind of want to lease the property to someone to continue that option. Are these opportunities out there and available for people?
They are. They are. Here's a little bit of an example, though, and I'm just going to speak about the state of Georgia because that's the state I'm in. Back in the 1980s, there was over 300 dairy farms in the state of Georgia. I think now the last count I had, which was last month, there's 63 left. And so a lot of those farms that are available They just don't make it to the next person. They just close down. They sell the cows. The land sadly becomes some type of infrastructure, housing, and it's not profitable to sell the farm to continue farming there. There are some larger farms in South Georgia that do very, very well where there's not as much population and land is more affordable. That's typically in our state where we see the majority of the farms. But to answer your question, yes, there are folks that get out of the dairy business. There are people that want to take on a partner, and there are those opportunities available. It might just not be where you live, and you have to be willing to relocate. But yes, there are many opportunities for that to happen.
Yeah, we did the same thing. We were close to an hour away from this property, and for the first 6 months, I made the commute every day to come out here. After I was sort of apprenticing at another farm, and so I would work
Mhm.
my full 8-hour day and then leave from there and come over here and work until well past dark with a headlamp on and come work on weekends until, the house next door miraculously became available, and we were able to work that out. And so, and I feel like if someone is truly passionate
Mhm.
about this, it's not just like oh, this sounds like a fun side hustle, which I don't know how in the world you could make a dairy a side hustle, but I feel like if it's truly something you want to do and you're willing to kind of take those leaps of faith into that, that that moving would probably not be much of an issue, especially
Right.
if you're talking an hour away, 2 hours away. You're still potentially connecting with any sort of industry connections you have or just familial connections to help you kind of break out into new areas. And so that's good to know. That's good to hear that it's not just farms. Unfortunately, it sounds like a lot of farms are just shuttering, and I think that's across the board in any part of our industry. But it's good to know that there is opportunities for new
Mhm.
blood to come in and maybe not take on as much risk of buying 275 dairy cows and all of the necessary equipment, but can, yeah, come in as a partner. Now, that to me, that seems like I'm trying to envision being an old veteran farmer and some young feisty kid from the city who has just fallen in love with agriculture. Maybe he got a degree at UGA and trying to navigate that conversation of bringing someone on as a partner. Do you see that as something that would happen initially, or more of a, hey, let me come work for you, let me learn everything I can, and then after a few years, maybe we can talk about getting some stake in the company?
That's typically the way that that happens. I mean, there's got to be a lot of sweat equity put into that.
Yeah.
And then, there's also got to be a financial partnership that that person is going to have to bring to the table. So typically, that's the way I see that happening.
Hello, growers. Want to boost your sales, reach new customers, and streamline your sales process, all from your home office? Ready Farmer 1, my book, is your ultimate guide to making it happen. Imagine increasing your farm's revenue without ever spending a Saturday at the farmer's market. The book will show you how to create, design, and market an online farm store. Learn from real farmers sharing real stories about how they move their stores online, freeing up their weekends and increasing their sales. Get my book, Ready Farmer 1, on Amazon and transform your farm business today.